Today's episode with Matt Stone and Trey Parker is brought to you by SeatGeek. That's our presenting sponsor. Find the best tickets for hockey, basketball, Hamilton, MLB, MLS, whatever. I have SeatGeek on my phone. It is by far the easiest way to shop for the best tickets thanks to their revolutionary grading system. Buy and sell tickets in 2 taps on your phone. 2 taps. Everything fully guaranteed. Try it out. Download the SeatGeek app today. Or go right to SeatGeek.com. We're also brought to you by Against All Odds with Cousin Sal. That is our new gambling podcast with our old friend, the Cousin Sal. Subscribe now on iTunes. It launched this week. Go listen to it. Get some gambling advice. So much good gambling going on right now. Thanks to everybody out there who helped us win not just one, but 2 Webby Awards for Best Sports Podcast. We won for Best Sports Podcast and the People's Choice for Sports Podcast. So thank you for that. We're going to talk to Matt and Trey. We taped this, I think, 2 weeks ago, and it's a really good one. I've had Matt on the podcast before, but not them together. So here it is, finally, Matt and Trey. All right, we're taping this sometime in April. Matt Stone, Trey Parker. Matt and I have done a pod before.
Yes, we did one.
Which I think it was like 5-6 years ago at my house, back in the days before I even had a little.
Yeah,
it was like a little office. You loved it though.
I did. I mean, I liked it kind of seemed like, I was early in your podcasting career.
It was.
And it definitely, and maybe I'll regret saying this even right now, but I don't know, Trey and I are used to doing press, and you can hear when we go and do something that's like live TV or something. Yeah. We've got our little stupid shtick down so much. It's like Trey goes first, and then I go, and then he cracks a joke, or I go first, then he goes, then I go. You know what I mean? Right. And we know how to talk in sound bites.
Like 7-minute interviews.
Oh, like 45-second interviews. Where, or if you know that you can, they're going to use only 15 seconds. So we talk in these 15-second cheesy things just because we've been doing it for so long and we're just want to get out of there. But I think the podcast with you is the first time I liked just sitting down, and it felt really weird and natural. I felt like it was like a religious experience for you. Talk. Yeah, I was like, wow. I was like, oh my God. That wasn't painful.
I've never liked an interview before.
I was being honest for once. Yeah.
The first time I met you guys, you were at Jimmy Kimmel's show. I was writing for him. It was like 2003. It was a couple months in. Lorenzo Lamas was on. Jeff Ross was on.
That's right. Yeah.
And Lorenzo Lamas was at the height of his Are You Hot or Not fame. The second round of Lamas fame. And then, and you guys just started fucking with him.
I think you farted. I farted on him.
You farted up.
And he got pissed off.
Yeah, he actually kind of wanted to fight you.
Yeah. He seriously wanted to throw down.
It's on YouTube, but it's magnificent. Yeah.
Those were the days. We've grown up quite a bit since then.
Let's talk about, well, I mean, that last season, you're writing the season 20. And then things start changing on the fly as you're writing it, and yet you
can sort of tell watching it.
You're trapped to the story arc that you think is going to have this conclusion, and then all of a sudden we have a different president than we thought.
It started the season before that because we did a show where it was sort of about Trump when he was just sort of like throwing his name around as someone to get.
It was in the Republican primary,
and it was just basically like, okay, well we should do this while it's happening before he goes away. And so we did our whole Trump show, and we thought, okay, well, we're done with that, and then, we go into this season, and it was just like, oh man, okay, this is still going on. So, and since we had made one of our characters basically Trump, we had to like keep servicing that, and we wanted him to be back and be a school teacher again, but unfortunately the American public wanted him to be president.
So when do you start writing that season? At that point, do you know that he's going to be the candidate?
We did. Oh yeah, we didn't start writing season 20 until August.
Oh, so
No, it was on by then. And like Trey said, we did actually one of our probably darkest and most like, I don't know, what would you call it? One of our darker episodes about Trump basically in September 2015. And at the time we were a little like, you get caught with wanting to make fun of something that's actually happening. And then with that guy, like giving him the fucking pleasure of it that you just don't want to do that. So eventually we just did it. And we did it in September 2015. And like Trey said, Garrison became our Trump. And we thought we could just kind of.
But that season was really like about the political correctness and all
yeah,
that.
Yeah.
Trump's like this side plot.
It was like a little side plot, but it trapped, like Trey said, it trapped us in this internal logic where Garrison was Trump. Yeah. And then we felt we had loyalty to that.
Yeah.
So then we showed up in August, and right by then, he was the candidate, and it was on the conventions that already happened.
Yeah.
And so we started writing, and so we had been so that was happening, and we'd been kicking around this idea for a couple of years with Vernon Chapman and Bill Hader about doing something about a troll, internet troll, just then a guy, and the concept was a guy who's kind of like Tom Hanks, and then he goes downstairs and turns into a troll. Then he comes upstairs and he's Tom Hanks, and he goes down, he's like actually a good family man, but who is this guy? Like, why would you be so we had that idea, and then Trump came along. So we kind of we started talking about all these,
wait, hold on. Freeze that for
things.
A second. So the internet troll idea, how does that happen? Cause I've been lucky enough to be in that room. It's not many people.
No. And
so
that was just,
how do you get fixated on that? And like, oh, we're going to blow that out, and this is what we should do.
I mean, it was a while ago we started talking about trolling, I think. And it was really about but
it was also about just, in being a troll and like, in the sense of just being a provocateur. Yeah. And that's why we really like the idea of that, like, this guy really took himself seriously as a troll in terms of an artist, and like, no, I'm actually doing something that's important for society and whatever. It's kind of like us, talking about ourselves and like, trying to justify what we do. And then that all started relating to Trump too, because it was just like, and a few months ago we did some interviews where we said, we're just not going to make fun of, you can't make fun of Trump. Like, it's its own he's doing his own comedy. There's like, we can't top his comedy. And people took it to mean, some people thought that we meant like, we're going to back off of him because of other reasons. But it really was just, whether it's a troll or us or Trump, it's pushing buttons and making people have this big reaction. There is some value to that. It is interesting, but I don't think as a president, it's the best thing to have. I think it should be done by comedians, but that's sort of what we were kind of saying, was kind of like, leave the comedy to us, like, you don't.
Yeah. We talked about the season sort of being why we're different than trolls. I think it was part of it was like watching the world change in a way, when this is like, everyone's talked about this. This is not an original thought, but that 2016 is the year the trolls came off the comment sections into the world, right?
Yeah.
And we felt that too at the time. And it was kind of important to us to say, well, what's different about what we do? Because there's a spectrum here of comedy and meanness and taking the piss out of people. And I think that Trey and I, it was interesting because Trey and I, we wanted to justify our existence. But there's also, I see in a lot of internet culture and trolls, like there's something, I recognize a piece of myself in that. And I recognize a piece of
what piece?
The pushing buttons part, the part like Trey said, like part of comedy and part of especially where we started is flipping off the principle, it's like just flipping or saying something that shouldn't be said. And then you can, get yourself out of it. Like great comedy can do that, right?
Yeah.
Like, I just watched the Dave Chappelle special last night on Netflix. He does that multiple times where he drives into like territory. You're like, oof. And it's just pushing, he's using provocation.
Louis C.K. likes to do it too.
He's using provocation for an artistic reason, right? And so we started season 20, like, well, we have to separate ourselves from that, but we also recognize that like there's a common thread here, which is like, you don't want Trey and you don't want Cartman jumping out of frame. In as much as Cartman represents some id portion of us, it's like, and that's funny, we can all laugh, but like that guy, you don't want that guy running for president or running or actually you're listening to him for news, right? Or you're listening to him, so it was a crazy, it was the first time last season was the first time I can say that I came in, I don't know what Trey, but kind of, but I mean, as we start talking, it was the first season I came in and I was like, pessimistic about the world. I think it was the first time. Yeah.
Even in August. Because in August, nobody thought Trump was going to win.
Yeah. And I mean, I got convinced of that too later, but I was so depressed about the whole rise and on what it said about our country and our country's political processes, even to get to that point seemed to me like, and I mean, there's a lot to talk about, unpack there, but just in general, it just depressed me. Like, oh shit, we may not make it. Like this fucking thing may just fall apart, you know?
It was interesting because the year before you guys were kind of invigorated by that season 19 and the whole PC subplot, because it was something that stuck in your craw and you felt like very few people could go there. You guys did the whole season.
Well, but it was easy because it was about us. It was about, okay, where do we fit in now?
Right.
And you know, the whole way that season started was we got together in the room after, you know, our break and we got in saying, man, things feel different now. You know, it's like, I don't think we could make fun of Caitlyn Jenner. I think we'd be done if we did that. And we're like, yeah, and like that's just like, well, and then we started saying, well, that's messed up. Like that, we really for the first time felt like, man, we can't do that. We will get in way too big a trouble. So we, of course, like we always did.
Concession for you guys.
Yeah, no, but like we always do. Then we started going, okay, well, how could we do it? and you know, it was just what was funny to me was. What was funny to us was that it was right at the time when all the stuff about her killing someone in a car had just happened, and how that was just all being completely. It was like you couldn't even say that. It's like you couldn't even say, "Well, she did kill someone in a car." It was like, "Oh, dude, you hate you hate anyone that's not just totally male or female." You know what I mean? Like, and so. It started going, okay, well, we can't make fun of her, but maybe we make fun of the fact that we can't make fun of her. And that started that first episode. And then by episode 2, we had her just running over people in a car. So we gained the confidence, somehow deep down found the confidence to do it. Yeah, but that was also, season 19 was invigorating because we found this real sweet spot for us of serialization, which was serialized, but not too much. Because we can't plan out enough ahead. Yeah. And we just had a really great time keeping the stuff from last week that we liked, getting new stuff and kind of rolling together and being really freeform about it. And then in season 20, that's where we decided like, well, let's take this another step. And we have this kind of idea about a troll. What if we really tease that out over a whole season? And I'll say I was number one. I was totally in favor of that. I thought it would be awesome. And we wanted it to be, I mean, and I have to like, I'll admit that like what we talked about, we're like, well, this is season 20. Like, let's do something extra special. You know what I mean? And something that will set it apart.
So
and even something that's hard.
All those years you'd never thought about, you'd never really thought about serialization until the last couple.
Because we had never, I mean, part of the beauty of it and part of what I'm excited to get back to probably next season is, you know, South Park is really a thing where we show up on Thursday morning and we go, okay, what are we doing this week? Yeah. You know, and the energy of that is a huge thing. It's really more like it's a Saturday Night Live schedule that we kind of have. You know, we all get in the room knowing that in a week there's going to be a show on the air and we've got nothing right now. You know, so it's really like the energy of kind of like the things we're interested in that week, and you know, it just suits us, and it just is what South Park is. And so for us, there was a lot of times where last season having this thing where we knew where we were going, we thought it was going to be great. We're like, oh my God, this season's like for the first time, we know what happens in show 7, you know, to some degree, but it was way harder than it was the hardest season we've ever done.
Yeah, it was hard. One of the reasons is because it locked us into a certain tone. So we couldn't do like a really goofy, absurdist, surreal show. There's certain comedic tones and we get a switch. So some shows are doing a different tone, and then we're kind of locked into a certain tone, and that kind of drug us down because we just wanted to get out of it, I think. Yeah. You know, we just were like, okay, let's just forget about this, but we bought off on it.
You guys kind of sound half demoralized about it.
It was even now. It was demoralizing. And I think part of it, you can watch if you watch the season, if you get that far, like season, and I think you just said show 7, I think that was the night of the election. And us, like everybody else, like we had a whole sweet show figured out with Hillary Clinton winning. And then we had to like at 8 p.m. LA time, we're like, holy shit, we have to go, and we had to rip the whole thing apart, put the whole thing back together. And it wobbles. It's not
How much time did you have at that point?
6 hours.
With 12, I mean, by the time we worked to like But I mean, to get everything in for animation, yeah, Trey's right. We just ripped it apart and just like did this thing. And it was hard.
To rip up half of it or 2/3 of it or how much was it?
2/3 of it.
Probably 2/3 of it, or just keep scenes.
The day
Keep scenes the night of.
The night of.
No, the night of. Like 8. I'm sorry, we had the whole show done.
I read that and I never totally believed it. I always figured you had like back.
That's the thing. I mean,
that.
when I say it's a centralized schedule, it really is, because we, you know, Tuesday for us, since the show airs on Wednesday, Tuesday is our big, it's the day that everything gets finalized, and not even, you know, on Monday, there's half a show. We don't know what the ending is. We don't know what the beginning, you know, there's, you know, people that watched the South Park on Monday night would be completely astounded of how little there is, you know, and what we actually do on Tuesday is insane. And so we actually, and so it was Tuesday night of the election.
Yeah, but that was like Tuesday, like 10 o'clock.
Yeah, I think it was
about 8 or 9. We
8
started,
or 9, you knew.
8 or 9, we're like, and we were texting people on the East Coast who seemed like they knew, and we were like, fuck. And so
we had a bunch of, you know, first of all, we were saying, look, let's just be black for 30 minutes, you know, and just be like, that's kind of our statement, you know. It's just like, we messed up, we have nothing to say. Because what's so funny is that, you know, we'd been through so many election years with the show. We've been doing the show for 20 years. So we've been through, you know, a ton of elections, and we've done other election shows where we called who was going to win it. And it's very easy. All we would do is go to see what the Vegas odds were, right? Like Vegas knows.
We just bet with the majority.
Like, you know, and Vegas was giving, you know, with Obama, Vegas was giving, you know, 10-1 odds. We're like, okay, well, let's just do an Obama show. And with this too, they were giving Hillary, you know, 8-1. We're like, Vegas has 8-1. Come on, 8-1. We're good. You know?
It's true, but I have a math degree, and so I know why that's flawed. So.
Well, yeah, because you're trying to hedge both sides. My friend
because you just got to roll the dice. Just because you know, one of the times it'll come up the other way. You know.
We had a parlay from August of the Pats winning the AFC East.
Oh, wow.
Parlayed with Hillary Clinton, which I was very proud of, because I like when it's team, human beings, sports, real life.
Yeah.
And we had all these opportunities to go against it, because you know, after the grab him by the pussy, that whole disaster.
Yeah.
That was the day. He was like 8-1 underdog at that point for like a week.
I honestly,
and we were like, no, do we hedge? No, screw it. We don't
honestly,
have to.
I swear to you, the 2 best nights of sleep I've gotten in the last year were the night after the grab him by the pussy thing. So I was like, oh, good. I just went to bed.
Yeah, it's over.
Yeah. And then after the second debate, I was like, oh, it was like, that was a different day, I think. And I was like, well, they're right around each other.
Yeah. And
I was like, so that's what I mean. Is like, I stressed out a bunch early, and then I got complacent in the last like month. Because I mean, when we started, what I'm saying is, everybody did. When we started the season, it was very much like, well, we can't avoid this thing that's happening. You know, we got to put that front and center, Trump and that kind of stuff. But then like Trey said, we like everybody else. We're like, look at the odds, look at Vegas is saying, you know what I mean? So we just made a call, and you can feel that. That's what I'm saying. You can feel that that's where the season kind of like something happened, and you know, and then from then on, we never kind of we never quite got it back in order. And I think part of it is because there are these like low-lying assumptions for comedy, because we have a lot of stuff going on. We started a lot of stuff in the season, like men versus women, J.J. Abrams and American decadence, and all these big themes. And all of a sudden it was like, oh, we were on the others. Maybe these are the opposite of what we thought, or you know what I mean? And the Hillary Clinton episode that we were going to air, I don't remember it, but it was pretty much like, okay, she wins, but shit still sucks because, you know what I mean? It's still not good just because that happened. So it was like, then what I'm saying is like, then I'm looking at myself that night going, well, this is way fucking worse. Like what, you know what I mean? And that's what I'm talking about that responsibility that we started feeling like where we different than a troll, or where are we different than somebody, you know what I mean? Because what would the thing we were making fun of, even though I think we had already done our piece about Trump, it felt like, and we were trying to service that during the show. We were also making fun of something else that ended up losing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
In the election. And so then you're like, oh man, I sure like making fun of those people. You know what I mean? But now they lost in this election. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Let's take a quick break to talk about SoFi. If you've worked hard to get the career you want, SoFi is here to offer easy savings on the student loans that helped you get there. If you've taken out student loans to invest in yourself and your career, SoFi wants to help out. Attending college and following your passions is an investment. with student debt. It can be quite the burden. I know a couple people who have been just murdered by student debt. SoFi is in the business of helping you pay off student debt faster. As the leader in student loan refinancing, SoFi refinances federal and private student loans to save its members an average of $22,359 total for an average monthly savings of $288. Depending on your eligibility, SoFi pays off all your existing student loans. It gives you one new loan with a lower interest rate, no origination fees, no catch. Whole application is fast and easy. It can be done online, and they have a great support team too. That is one phone call away. Hey, it's a simple idea. You worked hard to get where you are. SoFi wants to help you focus less on debt, more on the future. Guess what? You get a $100 welcome bonus when you refinance at SoFi.com/BS. That's SoFi.com/BS. Terms and conditions apply. See SoFi.com/legal. Loans originated by SoFi Lending Corp. California Finance Lender Law License number 6054612. NMLS ID number 1121636. Back to Matt and Trey. So when you started season 20, you were giving it to Hillary too, which I thought was interesting. I mean, the Hillary proxy, like that, you know, most people are like Trump, 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 Trump. And a lot of people weren't really tweaking Hillary as much because, you know, everybody who's in this position.
What was funny was that where we were going with the whole thing, because it was all really about how the girls have been slighted, and for us, you know, girls have been marginalized in South Park too, just because we do all the voices, and it's hard for us to even get, you know, to have people come in at 3 a.m. and change all the lines like we do. But you know, we were heading down this whole path of here's this big boy girl war going on, and everyone thinks, okay, well, hooray, Hillary's going to be president. And that means that Bill Clinton is the first gentleman. You know what I mean? And it was just like that to us was just like the most ironic, coolest thing to focus on was that, like, okay, there you go. You win. He's officially the first gentleman. How do you feel, girls? You know, and that's where the whole season was going. And that's what really got, you know, torn apart at because not only did we had to have Garrett. We couldn't have Garrison was supposed to come back and just start teaching again and all this stuff. And we were we were locked in, you know. Yeah, there was this,
like what really fueled the season 2, which is fine. I just remembered this was really, I came in completely worked up about 2 film reviews. One was the Star Wars Force Awakens. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Right. Force Awakens review in the New York Times, which was good, positive review. And the Ghostbusters reboot review in the New York Times. So this is like the dumbest, smallest thing to get mad about in the whole world, but this is what really fueled the entire season more than anything. Cause like, you know, cause like we started, like, it's just to go back to the where we started, it was filmmaking, right? And so Trey and I started, like, we drove with our friends to Sundance. Like, we started as independent filmmakers. And that combined with just a general sense of, like, you say you don't care about reviews, but like when you do a film or like the musical at Book of Mormon, when you spend that many years on something and then you have some, you know, hallowed journal give it a good review, I don't care. You know, it's like, I do care about that, right? And I've had good versions of that and bad versions of that, right? And so there's just this, to just read a good, it was in the, both of them were in the New York Times and both of them were good. And that just started us up. Again, it's kind of about the movies, but also about what's wrong with what's wrong. Like and I'm talking about the elite. I'm talking about the tastemakers. I'm talking about the people who should know better. I'm being a snob here when I say the new Star Wars movie does not get a good review in the New York Times. In my world, that just does not happen. That's not a grown-up movie that gets grown-up reviews in a grown-up thing, right? And I like the movie. I thought it had amazing acting, and I don't want to sit here and badmouth that, but this is like lab-grown meat. You know what I mean? This is a secondary derivative of something that was from 40 years ago. In fact, in a lot of ways, it's like the same movie as 40 years ago. Mm-hmm. And then with Ghostbusters, it was like, here's this pretty shitty movie with a lot of talented people, which makes it even worse, not better. It's not more excusable that it has talented people. It's worse. And then the review in the New York Times for that was, women are funny. What is it? Girls rule, women are funny, something, get over it. And so that's where the Cartman's, you know, so just get over it. And this is the New York Times now. So this is where this is why Trump, that was basically, and it wasn't so much J.J. Abrams is responsible for Trump. It was the same soft-headed thinking that would, like, that's our highest our highest level of film reviewers start to play this little game, this jockeying game about like, oh, but there's women in it, and so it's part of this other thing. It's like, dude, that's a Ghostbusters. Movie. That's a shitty Ghostbusters remake. That doesn't get a good review. Like, what is wrong with this world? And that was like, and then we just were like, and then just because it's our show and we can do it, we said, then Trump. And there we go. It equals Trump. And so we're going to make that, we're going to cross this.
How many plots over the last 20 years came from one of you two just walking into the room and being fired up about something? Is that 90%?
Those are the best ones. Then it's the dumbest thing, you know?
Yeah.
Like, it's like my wife gets mad when I don't put the seat down. Oh, man, that makes me mad. We're going to go.
That's what was so funny was all the Trump shit that was going on, and we're actually having the whole election year and everything. But really, weekly, what we're talking about is going, yeah, dude, fuck Star Wars, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's, yeah, like, so we're so, yeah.
To me, I kept equating it to the Happy Days reunion special, where it's just like they would do that reunion thing where they get all the people back and they kind of do a half-assed story, but it's all just about having people walk on a camera and having everyone clap for them and everything. And that's exactly how the new Star Wars felt. It was just a reunion special. It was just a big, like, remember this, remember that, remember this, remember that.
Was where Remember Berries came from. Was like that. Remember this?
Yeah.
You know, isn't that great? That's remembering that.
The cousin of that is, and I still support SNL and I'm glad it exists. I hate that they've embraced celebrities to the point where if they're really killing somebody on the show, like whether it's celebrity or politician or whoever, like Sarah Palin's the best example of it, right?
Yeah.
Like they're just mocking her, but then it always gets to the point where
she comes on.
Yeah. And then it's like never the same after that.
No.
And I don't know how.
Well, and it's interesting, you know, and I think it's actually, I think they're doing better than ever because of it. But, you know, it's like now every week I'm seeing a headline about how SNL ripped on the Trump administration this week, you know, and they've become that show. They've become, and that was the big, the part of the bummer for us about the season was we never intended, we didn't want to make it a big Trump thing. And we kept thinking it was going to go away. And, we didn't want to get caught up in just being a political show because there's plenty of good political comedy out there that we like to do. We like to dabble in that and do that one week, but then the next week we want to do fart jokes, you know, and whatever. And it's just like, we love to, like Matt was saying, you know, really change tones. And it's interesting because now people are really expecting us, you know, that, okay, well, let's see how you deal with Trump, you know, this coming season. And it's like, there was no other president where it's like, you know, no one ever said, oh, the new season's coming. How are you going to deal with Obama in this season? Yeah. You know, it was never, we're not that show and we never were. It's just that somehow it's, and I think because SNL now is just becoming known for that and that's what gets picked up every week.
It's hard. What do you do if you're them? You know what I mean? I was very, very glad.
What do you do if you're you?
Well, I'm glad that we are just doing the Bill Simmons podcast today. Right. Like we're not putting anything on the air right now.
Yeah.
And at the end of the last season, we needed to go. We were both like so exhausted and had nothing to say. We were just like, I don't know, like we got to go away. So I don't envy people that had to like through that kind of tumult, try to, you know, comedy people when I know where their heads are at, try to go on and be funny. Like right now it'd be tough. I actually think it's hard. I think it's kind of comedy killing. See, like people come up to us all the time like, oh man, you got so much good material. And I'm like, I don't think it's that great of material.
It is the material. You can't, I mean, it's just hard. You can't
It's just the material. You know what I mean? Well, he's taken a little something, which is like, that's like the button pushing.
Yeah.
It's like he takes that from you first and then you can make fun of that, but it's like, well, fuck. I mean, what do? You know, you want to push the button. The comedian pushes the buttons. That's the natural order of things, you know?
It's like what he does with the handshakes.
Just pulls you through.
When he pulls handshake, he pulls the person toward him and they're off balance.
Yeah.
That's basically what he's done to comedians. But I would argue, like what you were saying before about how, you know, like the professionals, sometimes you need the professionals over like all the amateurs. Like this is the time when we would need the professionals more than anybody to try to make sense of what's going on and put some humor into it.
But that's right. For us, that there is this thing of like, that's why we were trying at the end of the season to say, we're funny. That's the only difference really between us and trolls is like, because you got to be actually funny. And that just boils down to, that's just a skill. You have to, this is a totally, again, snobby. But we couldn't figure out what at the end of the day, what the other thing is. I mean, there's a difference between creating a box to see, you know, to go up on stage with a mic on stage and do something than to perform it, right? In real life and think that like this is some Andy Kaufman, but like many times over, you know?
Right.
So like this is happening now with a few of those, like Hulk Hogan did it. Alex Jones did it the other day in a lawsuit where they're actually in lawsuits where they're being sued as people say, no, that was a character. Hulk Hogan is different than Hulk Hogan. You know what I mean? And this starts this kind of, you can see this happening with everyone being a star and being their own, you know, there's me and then there's real me. And you're just, it feels like we just recognize that the bit of it that's like the comedy provocateur and we've like luckily channeled it into this thing that hopefully isn't, you know, bad or whatever. But you can see that happening where now it's like, that's what's hard about the comedy of it is because people are taking it and living it.
In the last 20 years, can you remember somebody who almost couldn't be parodied because he was a parody? Because I feel that way when I watch SNL. Yeah. Everybody loves the Alec Baldwin things. To me, it's like I can't almost tell the difference between him and Trump.
No, and it's not. Yeah, that's
but
why.
not in a fun way. It's just like this is kind of what I'm watching anyway.
If you have like a little monkey and it's running himself into the wall over and over, and you're like, well, that's funny. But how am I going to make fun of the monkey running himself into the wall?
Right.
I can discuss the monkey running himself into the wall. I can like copy the monkey running into the wall, but nothing's funnier than the monkey just running himself into the wall.
Or if I flip off the principal and the principal flips me off back. Like, that's really funny, but I don't know where to go from there. You know what I mean? I moon him and he moons me back. Like, if he moons first, like, oh fuck. Like, that's not where you want, that guy shouldn't be the principal.
What were your options that night? So it's like Tuesday night, 8:00, and you know you have to blow up that election show. What was on the table that you didn't do?
Well, Go Black was what we talked about.
Did you think about
airing the show as is and just being like,
sorry?
You know, here it is. It's a document, you know, for history. We talked about that. We called Doug Herzog. And, you know, he was at the Daily, we called him and said, you know, Doug, with some version of like, we can't get the show done. It's just really screwed up and sorry. And he was like, I forget what he said exactly because he talked to Ann, but he said, I'm at the Daily Show. Everyone's crying. I'll call you back, you know, or something like that. There was like, I mean, his world was like, everyone was coming to him saying, we can't do this tonight.
Well, that's another piece of this too, is you have to figure out what a funny alternative is, but everybody's like shell shocked.
Well, and then we had to show up Thursday morning and start another one. Yeah. No time to process.
Yeah. And we were going to do like a little under construction shot, like just a screen grab of just like, we're working on the show.
Yeah. Be back soon.
Like, we thought that would be funny. And
technical difficulty.
Yeah. But it was also just,
you
know, but then it was like, we just got to the dry erase board and just started erasing shit and filling it and going, how can we line this all up to make it make sense? And we, you know, I think by around 9:30 or 10, we kind of had it figured out, sort of. That's like, okay, well, this would make sense. And, you know, it was interesting what Doug said too, was that, and he wasn't even necessarily really he's like, I think he would have been okay with us just going black. But the thing that, it was also, I think, nice for at least real diehard South Park fans to see that everything was still, you know, everyone was so shell shocked by that. And it was like, you didn't want to see that the world had changed. You wanted to be like, okay, this horrible thing has happened and he's been elected president. South Park's still on the air. The sun's still rising. You know what I mean? Like water's still clear. Like you just wanted to like feel like things were going to be.
Yeah. Other people had to get up and go to work. It just was like how self-indulgent to be like, I don't know what to do. You know, that felt like lame, you know? So
could you have done that with the technology you had from like 97 to 2003?
No.
What's like the first year you could have pulled off an all-nighter and made a show?
Yeah, 4 or 5 years ago, we can basically change. It goes as fast as we can now, I'd say. I mean, you know, within reason, but we can do quite a bit now.
What's the most ridiculous thing about how you did the show in 97 that you can't believe you did it that way now?
God, we wrote it. We had to write ahead of time. So the show would be in production for 2
months.
You had
emails back then, at least.
Did we have that?
Kind of.
Yeah, we had these giant computers that cost so much money that sucked super bad and everything took super long.
Well, and if we wanted a crowd shot, you know, it's like, okay, this big thing happens in the middle of town and all the townspeople are there. That meant 5 people, right? Because each character is a piece of geometry that the computer had to think about. And so a crowd shot couldn't, you know, you see those early shows and it's always like 6 people going like this, you know, the whole town.
Yeah. No, it can do a lot. It can go fast now. Yeah.
And that's all digital, everything like.
Yeah. All digital. Yeah.
Everything's like in some computer.
Everything's in one building. and everything's done in one building, start to finish. All the sound, all the recording, all the animation, all the post, everything.
And the process has stayed pretty much the same since day one. You have your trusted little inner circle. You go have a retreat, bat around ideas.
Yeah, I mean, even that's kind of not even the real, like sometimes, and we're talking about doing it again. Last 2 years we didn't do it. We just started. We just got into the building 10 days before the first show. And
what dumb little movie thing are you mad about?
Yeah,
that's how it usually starts. What dumb little movie thing are you mad about?
What's going on in the world that we really need to discuss? And it's like Star Wars wasn't that good, and everyone's talking that it was amazing, and it wasn't. It just wasn't that good, and that's really what we were trying to base the entire season around. And
it is crazy how long we talked about that.
But you know that it really is a show up Thursday. Throw some things at the board, you know, and maybe by Friday you start to see a little bit of animation, hopefully. And it's such a sculpting show, you know. It's never a show that it's like, okay, we start here, we go there, we go here, we go here. It's always like, here's a really funny scene. I don't know if that's at the beginning of the show, I don't know if that's the middle, I don't know if that's the end, but here's a funny thing, and here's a funny thing, and here's a funny thing, and then we'll start to mold it and go, oh, this is Kyle's story. Kyle's the one we're tracking here, and it's his emotion that's going to take us through the show. And then by Monday is when it really starts to become, you know, a show. And then Tuesday is all about rescuing it and trying to get something
compromising,
falling
in love with it, falling out of love with it, and, you know, that whole
cutting stuff. You must have some inherent thing in your head for exactly how long. Like that. What is it?
Well, it's 22.
With commercials, it's 22.
22 minutes and 15 seconds. Yeah. And it's right there
I
on the
can write
app.
a column now where I almost know exactly how many words it is by the, I don't even have to look at the thing.
Yeah. And you kind of know
that,
too,
right?
like a scene is basically a minute long, which means 2 pages, which I know, like, okay, if I've handed off 2 pages and I know that that's about a minute long scene, and South Park is really made up of minute long scenes. And then a few here and there, a few 2 and 3 minute long scenes, but not many.
And Vernon's been in the inner circle the longest?
Yeah, totally. I mean, a lot of the times this whole season was just you and me and Vernon Chapman.
Yeah.
And then Bill Hader's been joining us when he can. He's also, you know, just so busy.
Yeah, that's a problem because he's
just
doing stuff.
He's just
like making movies.
Yeah. I mean, both Vernon and Bill are really busy guys. They have their own stuff going. So when we can all get together, that's super fun. And then every once in a while we have someone come in for a little guest, like write with us for a week kind of thing. Yeah. But usually it's just me, Trey, and Vernon. Yeah.
Hader seems like he likes coming back just because he like keeps his chops fresh or something.
Oh, I don't know. We just laugh a bunch. And
Bill's been great.
I mean, like, he just loves it.
It's fun. It's a fun place to be on Thursday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Friday. Friday can be kind of fun too. It's just that when it actually becomes like, oh fuck, okay, we got
Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah, that's not so fun. But I remember you came in that, you know, the show, I think it was the first episode of season 19. It was
Tom
right?
Brady.
And we were doing
mean to him. I feel like I had blood on my hands.
We were doing the Cartman Tom Brady stuff.
Now you feel bad because he was exonerated.
Right?
Was he? You should go back.
So yeah,
change that.
Because you guys both
change that in the stream.
No, Trey and Bill had a nice argument about that day, and I just felt like Deflategate
Trey
was
lost
like
the argument.
No.
I was right. There's no evidence whatsoever, and you besmirched a great man. He's the greatest quarterback of all time.
Lying cheater. He's a dirty lying cheater.
No evidence
I think
whatsoever.
Deflategate bummed out Trey as much as anything I've ever seen. Bummed out Trey.
It actually just
kind of like that thing of like, just like, you know, the Statue of Liberty of football just crying. It's just there's something just like you just see this loss of innocence with Trey. Like,
but then what happened with the Peyton Manning, the HGH, but it was really for his wife? That none of that stuff bothered you?
No, that was all a lie.
Trey's a Broncos fan.
That's the way it works.
Yeah. Quick break to talk about Mother's Day. Sending flowers, such a great way to tell your mom, your wife, or whoever that you care on Mother's Day. So it stinks whenever those flower companies or stores don't care about you. Like when you're stuck with hidden fees that leave you with a bigger bill than you expected. Or you sent flowers that show up looking different than pictured. It stinks. Thankfully, the Books Company offers fully transparent pricing, an easy shopping experience, and an incredible selection of flowers starting at $40, including free delivery on weekdays when you register with an email address. Each bouquet is sustainably farmed, comes straight from grower to customer, meaning flowers last longer and cost less. Plus, they take customer service very seriously, so if they make a mistake, they'll make it right. This year, show every mom in your life that you care with flowers from the Books Company, and a special offer to my listeners and for my listeners, for and to my listeners. You can order now and get 20% off. Hurry, flowers will sell out. I promise you. Do not wait. Visit Books.com and enter code BILL for 20% off your Mother's Day purchase. That is BOUQS.com. Code BILL. 20% off your Mother's Day purchase at checkout. Back to Matt and Trey.
They called me out of the blue. NFL Films called me out of the blue and said they wanted me to do, which I think Alec Baldwin does usually, the voiceover for the Broncos winning season.
What?
2 years ago. So that whole thing of like, DeMarcus Ware was sure that he was in trouble that week, you know, and that kind of stuff. It was pretty awesome. And it was like, I didn't know how they did that or
Wait,
whatever.
did you actually do it?
And I did it, yeah. So if you look up the NFL Films, you know, Broncos winning Super Bowl winning season, I'm narrating it.
You should have made up names.
So and so.
So you narrate the Broncos Super Bowl video, and then you besmirch the great Tom Brady. I think you should be villain
He's
number
a liar
one.
and a cheater. No, but it was. I mean, I even have to admit that you know, what that last Super Bowl, watching that and watching them come out and just being like they must have lied and cheated on levels that we can't even think, like we're not even aware of. Like to be able to have that kind of comeback, it's like, man, you're just lying and cheating on another level. That's just like, you know.
So
right?
I've watched that game a few times, and as history will remember it as an incredible loss as much as an incredible win. Like when you really watch it, to blow a 25-point lead in basically a quarter and a half is almost impossible.
Super Bowl.
Yeah, like that. Atlanta just lost. They just kept like pounding, like just go. Let's not stop being aggressive and all that stuff. And it was the one thing you couldn't do. They actually should have been passive.
Yeah.
And not done it. But anyway, I think the Brady case is unassailable. Brady Manning is not an argument anymore.
No,
that could be season 21 right there.
That was season 21.
You know what I'm really mad about?
Go, just walk into the room and start screaming about it. So what happens with season 21?
We don't know. I mean, I think like you heard Trey say, we definitely are.
You just wait it out.
Yeah, and I think we're not coming in with any big serialized thing, but we'll do what we did in season 19, which was fun, which is try to do a great episode and then let anything that's cool live. And we call it like serialized. It's like live. It's like serialized light or something.
Yeah.
Like sort of serialized, sort of not.
All right, we don't have to
but it's also funny because it's like, you know, and even my family members, you know, are just like, wow, you know, waiting to see what Trump's going to do. And like I said, it's just like, you know, that's never what the show was about. And for me, I'm excited to get back to Cartman dressing up like a robot and messing with Butters. Like to me, that's the shit that I really like doing. And you know, we're known as being a satirical and political show, but the truth is on any given season, we might have one big political show. Yeah. You know, and the rest is all, you know, Queef Sisters and stuff.
I can tell you my 9-year-old son isn't watching for the politics.
Yeah, for sure.
And I'm sure
he's watching
for the Queefs. We aren't either. And that's why
he's watching it half because it's funny as hell and half because he shouldn't be watching it.
Yeah.
When you're a little kid, you want to watch the show when your parents come in, they're like, why are you watching that? Yeah. And then that's it. That's like the forbidden fruit.
That's what
he's banged them all out at this point.
There were so many times this last season that we were sitting there in the editing room watching this political stuff, and all I wanted was to get back to Queef Sisters. I just wanted a couple queefs in
looking
there.
Out the window longingly.
Queefs.
Don't you think that a lot of kids, don't you think there's this like rite of passage now, which is probably with other shows, not just South Park, but now that the internet more, as I'm talking about, is that now it's like, okay, you can watch South Park, and that turns into 270 shows. You'd sit there and just mainline them over and over. I think there's this like, a lot of kids do that where they just get and they just watch 70 in a row or something like that.
So South Park's really, if this is a video game, it's probably the final level for the parents.
Yeah. To get to South Park, you mean?
Yeah, you got to go through some of the low level, maybe not as pushing the envelope shows, and then you get there. But
it's so far. We'll see how it goes because it's so far for my daughter. It's worked pretty well because she's 3.5, and she does Ike's voice. Right. And Ike was pretty foul-mouthed this season, but she gets it. She knows that the only reason you swear is to make money. right? She's like basically like, it's like, you can't say those words unless it's to make money. And she totally gets that.
See,
so.
Trump gets that too. That's what we're saying. See, that's fine if it's part of a TV show.
Yeah.
My whole philosophy with comedy is I'd rather start way earlier than too late,
Yeah.
you know? And it's like, I want my kids to have a sense of humor and I want them to watch this stuff. And hey, I think the difference between when you guys, I mean, there's so many differences between season 1 and season 20, but the fact that people can just catch up on 20 seasons like this is insane.
It's pretty crazy.
Think about that. Like even in 2003,
Yeah.
you guys have you're 7 years in.
Yeah.
There's no way people could have watched any of them unless Comedy Central was running a marathon or something.
Right. Or you
Now-
follow-
No,
and it's after being, because it's been so long, it's been 20 years. It's like, there are literally shows that we'll sit down and watch and do not remember at all. And we've written and directed every episode ourselves. But it's just like, we'll seriously sit there and watch it and be like, whoa, that's not cool. That's not cool. You know, it's interesting because and we actually get in trouble now because it's been 20 years that we'll actually sit there in the room and come up with this great idea for a show and be like, oh my God, this sounds familiar. I think The Simpsons did this. And then we're like, no, we did it. And like, we'll literally have ideas now that we're like, oh, we can't do that. We did that 15 years ago. And so it's getting harder.
Or 3 months
harder.
ago. It's
Yeah.
it is hard to find.
Is there
It's not a
stuff
lot.
you did, like, especially in the first 10 years that you're like, oh my God, there's no way in hell we could do that now?
No,
I
and
think it's the
just
other way.
Yeah, it's the other way around where it's just like, oh my, you know, the first few years are just embarrassing to watch, you know, and being like, because I think the South Park movie is where we really learned to write, you know, and before that
What year was that?
99.
99, yeah.
And
We learned to write in 99.
yeah, we learned to write in 99.
Yeah.
Kind of couldn't do it until then.
So when did it hit its stride then, you think?
Oh, I think like season
Six,
6, 7, 8, 9. And I think that's probably where most people think
You both
that.
said season 6.
Yeah.
I was going to say not the first few, but
I
then
remember
there's like,
our offices moved from one building to another building. And the first episode we did was called Good Times with Weapons, where we did this anime thing with
Right.
and it was sort of I don't know, that whole season was really good.
yeah. I mean, that's like The Simpsons hit like about a groove about then too, didn't they? It was another like the best. You get this kind of like that. I think that's where you hit a groove. And then we hit another and then we kind of have to start playing like bring back sports like an old, you know, to kind of like go outside and get our outside shot going a little bit different. Change our
Does some
game.
of it have to do with how much other stuff you're doing at the same time too?
It does that, but
better?
also I don't know. No, I mean a little bit, but like we did Book of Mormon just kind of in the off seasons. A lot of it has to do with like just getting old, and what we talk about is being parents more than kids because we both have kids now, and being middle aged. Like the shit we're bitching about is middle aged stuff, and so the parents, and especially like Randy that Trey plays, there's a lot of shows now about the parents.
About Randy, yeah. It's
When the
funny
kid-
because
and something we realized this year is there's no teenagers in South Park. There's no like
Yeah.
we have kids. We have kids and we have adults. We don't have any teens or 20 somethings. There's just kids and then their parents.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing.
and when the first seasons of South Park, it's me doing an impersonation of my dad, is Randy. And now it's just me. I just talk, and that's just Randy's voice, because it's just like it's so much fun. I so much more now. When we started the show, I related to Stan, and I was supposed to be Stan, and Matt was supposed to be Kyle, and now I just completely relate to Randy. And it's just like it's why he keeps coming in every episode. It's like, well, what's Randy gonna do?
Oh, would you say, yeah, that's good. We have a grandpa in there too. So
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
going to
Pretty
get some
soon it'll
grandpa
just be all
characters
about
in there.
grandpas.
Well,
In the same
normally when
show.
you get older, that could be dangerous for comedy, but for this show, it sounds like it kind of flipped it in a way that was good if you want to keep the show going.
Yeah.
Like start
No,
concentrating on
and
different
it is
materials.
like it has to be, we've never tried to kind of say, okay, well, what do people want to see? It's always been about our little group and the 6 people that are sitting in the editing room watching it. Like it's all about making that group laugh.
Yeah.
And so, and that entire group has gotten older. And so, the shit that makes them laugh is all more family stuff than it is,
Did you think about getting like somebody who's like 25 in that room?
Just
for a different voice?
It was definitely, and you watch like how the Simpsons have done it, and they've, they just bring in new writers. They bring in a whole new people that run the show, and that, and it's just like, to us, like South Park wasn't that, and because we like to equate every every season to like an album, and every show is a song on the album. It's like we like to be able to look back and say, oh, here's where we were at in our lives.
Right.
And so for better or for worse, you know, I don't think we'd ever do that, the Simpsons
I
sort of
didn't
thing.
mean like hand it off. I meant just
get
some
some
new
energy
energy in the room.
I just don't think they'd laugh at the same shit. Well, although we still just laugh at
different
Queef
sense of
Sisters, you know.
As long as it's the Queef Sisters test we give them.
Yeah.
You bring in like some 24-year-old, he's just on his device the whole time. He's not really interacting with you guys. Just looking down.
I mean, we do like in the last 2 seasons with the PC Principal season and then with season 20, you know, the feeling of getting old is definitely worked into both of those things of like, well, we might as well, you know, like the PC Principal thing is like, that's us. He's bitching at the town saying, look at you, look at this. Cause it's like, we had this town that was so old and so like even last year when we did season 19, there was a big Whole Foods thing because it became like our grocery store is like, doesn't resemble any grocery store that I've been in 10 years. Cause we've been on TV for so long. And even the serialization thing is like, it's only because we started TV in 97, which there was no serialization. You just had sitcom.
Yeah.
So it's just like grappling with getting old. And then even in season 20, it's just talking about like, well, here we are bitching about how there's no good artwork being made. And we're in our 20th season. Like we're still sticking around more with you and go, is this us too? You know? So like, I like that part of it. It seems to make the show better, like in the last few years, just acknowledging our old, you know what I mean?
Right. When did you guys feel like you got to the point? I think you and I talked about this on our last podcast when certain creative people reach a point where you can just get away with more. You know, and I think you guys are definitely there. Howard Stern's definitely there. Chappelle.
It's so weird.
Those 2 Netflix specials, Chappelle said stuff in that just most people wouldn't be able to say.
You couldn't say unless you were him. Yeah. He's earned it.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, maybe we've earned it or not, but like he's like, Chappelle's earned it. Like, you know, you do, and you get grandfathered in to whatever generation, you know, you just like, we have our 90s generation grandfather clause, I think. Maybe.
Yeah.
But you earned it. You're around.
It was just
long
funny. It was, I remember, you know, I think early 2000s, you know, reading about certain people that were getting in trouble for things they said. And I'm like, wow, we said that like 2 years ago. And, you know, it just became a thing where it's like for someone to come out and say, hey, I was really offended by this thing I saw in South Park, just doesn't.
It's a weird thing
like
to say.
Right away. You're like, well, shut up. You know what I mean? Like, of course, that's the point.
What's funny is Barkley used to be in this group, but I feel like people have turned on Barkley in the last year. Now they get mad when he says stuff.
Yeah.
And he gets in trouble
that's part of what happened.
year.
The PC Principal thing, though, too, is we really felt like it was going to turn on, and we still feel like it might.
Yeah.
Like we're still waiting. It
has, and we just try to ignore it. But
yeah,
I'm sure if you look somewhere, it's turned on us.
No, I don't think it's turned on you where like, oh, those guys can't say that. I think you do have a little bit of liberty.
No, we definitely have liberty.
There's no question.
But I still think there's another wave coming of these young kids, you know, coming out of college now that are going to be like, fuck you, you can't say that.
Right.
And,
but you said South Park wasn't a political show, and I agree with you, but it's an American show, and it kind of reflects whatever is going on in America at the time, which I think is what makes it special. So I would say, even though you're not a political show, America is really fucking strange right now.
Yeah.
Which creatively is a good thing for you guys once you kind of pull out of it and just kind of look at it levitating above and trying to figure out what to do. I would say that's creatively going to be fun.
It is, and it's just like the problem is we can get too hung up in that, and because the truth is when South Park works its best, we think and we feel is when Cartman and Butters have a problem they're dealing with. You know what I mean? Like it really is. It's still very character driven, and I feel like we've got some great characters that really, when it is just an emotional problem that everyone can relate to, and especially a problem like, oh yeah, I remember that about being a kid, and that's what's nice and still universal at least is that it's hard for it was always about us remembering our childhoods that brought up a lot of these stories about, and now kids today live in such a completely different world. But, we're
having a hard time telling even like stories of like even cell phones have changed the way people like, this is not super original either, but we're having a hard time in the writer's room tell a story in the age of cell phones. If you put a cell phone in the kid's hand, you're like, well, that's how they would do that now. Right. And even writing dramatic scenes is like, if you walk around outside, you'll see these people, like everyone's just looking at their phone. And some of those people are actually going through incredibly they're learning their mom's cancer diagnosis is X, or they're getting broken up with, or something really profound. And this entire, what that scene should be in a movie when you learn about your mom's cancer diagnosis, and it shouldn't be looking at a screen, but that's actually where it's happening.
Yeah.
Today. And so it's like, we're like, what that in trying to like have the show age, but not too much and keep these dramatic things. It's just, it's a trip. And that's where like a lot of the shows. So we had a whole season, like 2 seasons ago, everything was about tech. And it wasn't that we tried to do that. It's that we couldn't think of anything else that was possibly going on. But what I was trying to answer was that what you asked was, it's sometimes you got to find the balance between trying to do something big thematically but also don't get too high on that. Like, you know what I mean? Too up your own ass about it too, because you can smell that coming from a mile away. So we always try to do like, okay, that's where like, I'm mad about Ghostbusters. Now let's tease that out to a giant theme. But at least most of the show that's that stuff is just us is what we're actually thinking about,
I feel like I would walk into the room if I was part of the inner circle complaining about all the people on social media who are telling me, sending links and telling me what to read and how to feel about all this stuff. I've muted almost everybody on Twitter, Facebook, all that stuff who throws the politics stuff at me, because it's like, I can't take it anymore.
Yeah. You can't live your life.
No.
Yeah. No.
I just like, I know where to find news. Like I do this for a living. I know where to find things. I don't really need help on my Facebook feed. I don't need to be lectured or preached to.
Yeah.
I know how I feel.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's I forget where, maybe it was SNL. I forget where it was, but somebody had a joke about, I never realized that this was bad until this mom in my parent support group told me,
Right.
And it's like, oh, thank you. Thank you for shedding some light on this issue for me at 3 p.m. on my Facebook feed. I don't know.
See, I can't imagine. I don't have an online life like that at all. I don't like, I have email and that's it.
I have email and text and I'm buried. And I'm buried in emails and texts. And
emails and texts are enough.
It's great.
Yeah. I like Facebook because I looking at pictures of my friends' kids.
Yeah. Yeah. That's keeping up with that. I think Facebook, yeah.
Yeah. That's really about it.
I don't understand how people keep up with all that stuff. I like people who do Twitter and Facebook and everything. I just like, I said, I'm just.
Well, the thing that our generation, like, the younger generation can do the 4 things at once, which I'm always envious of.
Yeah.
They can have people can. I have all these people in the Ringer. I've talked about this on a pod before. Like they can listen to a podcast and edit stories at the same time. They're 2 completely different things.
Like somebody's talking in their ear.
They listen to this podcast right now, but they're also editing a story, and then they're on email and they're on. They're doing all these things, and like, I think our generation, it's like impossible.
Yeah.
We can do 1, maybe 2 things.
Yeah.
And that's it. But this next one, and then there's even a difference between like, I would say 29 to 31, but then like 23 to 26, like this guy, where
who's editing? He's editing something right now.
Kate's 24.
Recording
this.
He's writing a novel right now.
He's mixing an album. Country. Yeah. But the younger ones who just grew up with, like, they never knew life without email, anything.
Yeah.
They always were distracted. Like today I flew cross country with my kids. I mean, think about what flying cross country with your kids was like 20 years ago.
Yeah. Without iPads.
Without on demand.
Yeah.
Just pressing a button and a movie comes up, and that's what everybody's used to now.
Yeah.
So to your point, like, how do you capture that in an elementary school cartoon setting? I don't know.
It's just super boring. This is super boring. You look at people, just look at screens. I mean, that's where actually everything's happening. It's not in the physical world. You know?
That should have been your
it was a challenge with season 20. It was a
challenge.
challenge because that was part of, in talking about trolling in this internet troll, so much of that's happening online.
Yeah.
But you're trying to just show the story that's just the guy having fun with it.
Walking out of his basement.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, and I think like Vernon said this thing, and I don't know if it was his or he got, but this is really Vernon Chapman said this thing when I was talking to him a couple weeks ago. Cause we in season 20, we come up with our little thing that we want to say, our little theme, our little story, and we start hacking a little trail through the jungle. Like we're hacking through it and finding our way. And then like a paver just came and paved past us. You know what I mean? And so this whole idea of trolling originally when we started season 20 was about the difference between anonymity and privacy, that like part of the thing all these trolls hide behind, and part of the bad amount of discourse online is people's anonymity, right? That they can just, if you're basically anonymous, you'll say whatever you want, right?
Which was
That's
cool
what
in 97.
Which was cool, yeah.
I was like, this is great.
It was cool, and then it took over the world, and then it just came out into the real physical universe. That's where it felt like, oh wow, we were even talking about something smaller. It was so crazy, you know. I don't understand like how I don't understand personally how people can balance all that stuff, just personally because I can't. But also, I feel like the people that came up with Twitter and Facebook, and not even that they're bad people, but they're dealing with a biblical amount of power, and they're absolutely over their heads. And you know, I don't think they're bad. I don't think they set out to control the world, but like, I wouldn't want that. It's like that's a version of the nuclear suitcase. Like, I would not want to be in the Facebook algorithm. How do you go to work if you work in the Facebook algorithm place? You know what I mean? Not think like, hope I don't tweak something that, like, you know what I mean? Right. That like sets off this in this country, and you know what I mean? And that stuff's so really powerful. It's amazing.
One last break to talk about Lyft. If you are looking for a rideshare option that will get you there safely and with a smile on your face, with Lyft, you can get a ride in minutes for less than the cost of a cab. Every Lyft driver fully vetted through their 10-point safety standard, including criminal and DMV background checks. You can tip them in the Lyft app, which obviously leads to happier and better drivers. 9 out of 10 Lyft rides get a perfect 5-star rating from the passenger. Every car has to pass a 19-point vehicle inspection for your safety and comfort. Lyft's new AMP device uses a color-coded system to help you find easily the right car. No more saying your name to the driver through a cracked window. It's also the fastest-growing rideshare app and the highest-rated one, as well as your buddy whenever you need a ride. Right now, Lyft is offering our listeners a special deal. Get 3 free rides for up to $10 each. That's up to a $30 value when you enter promo code Bill Simmons. That's my name. Download the free Lyft app today. Enter promo code Bill Simmons in the payment section. 3 free rides, up to $10 each. LYFT. Download the app. Try it out right now. Back to Matt and Trey. One of the things I check every day, because I've been trying not to get inundated by stuff, is if you, on your Apple phone or your iPad, if you just swipe to the left, it's got like the top 4 news stories.
Right.
I don't know how they pick them, but it's a nice reflection of whatever's happening, right? There's always a Trump story. Like, we're taping this in the 3rd week of April, but you know, the shooter in Cleveland was on the loose. Like, that guy had a story. And it somehow picks the 4, but I realize like whoever's picking that has an immense amount of power over my life.
Yeah.
See, I just tried it, and mine says couldn't load stories. So
Oh, you probably turned it off.
I've turned it off, obviously. Yep.
I'm gonna look at it right now. But
so I'm not bothered.
But yeah, like Zuckerberg, they had this Facebook thing today, and they asked him about the guy who killed somebody and showed it on Facebook, and he's like, yeah, you know, this gave what kind of answer he's going to give? Yeah, we're going to try to fix that. Like, that's terrible. We don't want people using our platform like that.
Fix that.
Yeah, how do you fix that? Yeah. If people could go live or put videos up. Yeah, right now the stories are 3 killed in a shooting spree in Fresno. That's terrible.
It's just the stuff you need to know.
Trump military strike. Russian bombers fly near Alaska. And then Hillary Clinton only has herself to blame for 2016 loss.
Yep. Just the stuff you need to know.
That's fair reflection.
I was wondering who to blame for that.
Oh, good. I looked at my iPad. I know it's
who's in 20 years. Who is the maddest at you guys?
In 20 years?
In the last 20 years.
Oh,
Sean Penn.
Sean Penn got really, really mad at us.
Sean Penn?
Yeah, for like, we made fun of him in Team America, and we made fun of him in something else, and he just got super duper mad.
Like, he'll fight you, right?
He wrote us a letter.
He'll get in a fight with you, yeah.
Yeah.
What was funny, yeah, he wrote us a letter, but it was so lame because he wrote us a letter, but then he also he gave the letter to like
he faxed it to us, and it was fax, by the way. Okay, so there you go. He faxed it to me, or somebody faxed it to me. It was like, and I called you, and I was reading it. I was like, dude, Sean Penn wrote us a letter. This is exactly what happened. And then I was like, check it out, and I started reading it aloud to you, and then we're like, this sounds like an open letter. Like, this doesn't sound like he didn't. And of course, he'd sent it to. You know what I mean? He had sent it to Hollywood Reporter, but I was like, and we're like, oh my God, he sent us a letter. And then I was reading it, like, he didn't send it to us.
Yeah.
He sent it to us, you know.
But what was funny was that, and apparently it was right after he'd seen the trailer for Team America, where he just knew that he was a puppet in Team America. But he hadn't seen the movie yet, so he didn't know that all Sean Penn ever says in Team America is, I've been to Iraq. I've been to Iraq. I've been to Iraq, right? And in the letter he writes, I've been to Iraq. And it just made us laugh so fucking hard.
Yeah. I'm trying to think if anybody else got mad at us. No.
You must have run into some of these people that you've tweaked.
Yeah, well, I mean, and that's what, you know, early on, and especially like right after the South Park movie Yeah,
we
like
made fun of
right
Alec
beside Martin
Baldwin. We had to, we stood
yeah.
behind him at the Tonys or something. Yeah.
But we, you know,
was
we
awkward?
got,
He was awkward, but he was nice.
We used to get invited to Hollywood parties and like the Vanity Fair Oscars party and all that. We'd get invited to all that, and we don't get invited to anything anymore.
I know we went we went to one of those Vanity Fair, the Oscar party. We went a couple years in a row because just everybody there, you just know, like, it's incredible the star power there.
Yeah.
We just sit in the middle of the room and have our drinks and stuff. And then we went one year and it was like we just had something, there was like just a circle around us that no one was getting near us. Like we had some.
That's when we realized we had pissed enough.
Yeah, we just were at the. Eric Idle came over and talked to us. I think that was about it. And we're like, I think we got to go. I think people don't want to. It just felt like that, you know. Felt like, oh,
it's probably the best thing for the show, right? To be a little bit on the outside.
Well, that's the thing about SNL that you're talking about, and it's hard because you don't. When you feel comedies being chummy, it's like super weak. That's what I'm saying. Comedy always has like a good comedy has like some kind of honesty and a lot of times meanness to it. Like just mean, you know? Right. It just is.
And
you know?
SNL in its best moments there's been a mean edge to some of the sketches that.
And like really good comedy that people can make it and make it likable and stuff. But it's about like, you don't want to feel that they're friends with the person they're making fun of. That's no fun. But SNL they're different. They have to be that way. You know what I mean? That I respect the hell out of them. I even to go on to do what we do, which is basically what they do. And then at the end of our week, go live on television. That sounds crazy to me. Yeah. You know,
as you guys got older, is it weird that you didn't change the process? Really? Is it because you're just comfortable with it, or do you need the energy of it?
Every possible minute we have, it's just like everything just gets. You know, it used to be that like on Sunday, I remember it was like on Sunday if we didn't have 13 minutes of show, we were screwed.
Yeah.
Right. Or actually, no, it was like 18. We had to have like on Sunday, we'd have to have like 18 minutes of show.
Just numbers.
There were these numbers we had to hit. And those numbers have just slowly come down and down and down to where like now it's Sunday and it's like, yeah, you know, it's Sunday. We only have 10 minutes of show, but we'll figure it out Monday.
So you're like the kids in college with the term paper that you're starting as late as possible.
100%.
Trey and I were both like, do the term paper the morning of. Set the alarm for 3:30, get up, have some coffee, do a term paper,
the most painful part of it is committing to something. You know, you sit there in the room and you're like, well, this could be funny or this could be funny. And making that decision of which way to go, like, and at least we're in this microcosm where we only have 6 days. Yeah. Because otherwise we would just work for 10 years on the same movie, you know, because it really is like, there's so much writer's block of just like, oh, you could do it this way or you could do it this way. I don't know which is right. And so I'll just wait to the last possible second to make that choice. And in the meantime, but it's all feedback too. You know, you want to do a little scene and watch something you've talked about and watch the scene and be like, oh, that is funny, you know, and there's a little bit of magic that happens. Being able to, unlike other animated shows, being able to do something, look at it. Okay, that works. That doesn't. Let's do more of that. Let's follow that through. Tonight. Oh, let's do two callbacks to that. Like that kind of sculpting and kind of going back and layering is fun.
Do you feel kinship with some of these other shows that have been on for a while and have had to go through the ebbs and flows, or you don't care?
Like who?
I don't know. Like Simpsons has been on forever. I mean, I guess different people are running it at this point. Different. Family Guy's been on for a while.
It's weird, and it maybe the kinship, like it's not. I don't think it's really there in a big way, but it's funny getting to know Bill Hader, and I think I understand the SNL, both the appeal and how hard it is to do that show, and like we're very, very different. But I guess that's the position we've put ourselves in, is that kind of almost live performance.
Well, and sometimes there'll be a big thing that happens in the world, and you're like, okay, and we're doing shows, so it's like, okay, we're probably going to do that. We do have to think of like, okay, what's SNL going to do? You know what I mean? Like, because we have to kind of.
We do come to the office on Sunday morning, like this season, where it's like you're doing a lot of you look, okay, what happened last night on SNL? What did they just so we don't do the same thing because we're obviously all sniffing around we're all living through this. So
you don't have to worry about them doing the Caitlyn Jenner stuff. Huh?
No. They didn't have her running over people in her car.
Are you worried that there's not going to be a season 21 because of a writer's strike, or no?
Well, we're not union, so we're fine.
It's just me and Trey and Vernon.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, there's no.
Any thoughts on the writer's strike?
I don't know, man. We talked a lot about the last writer's strike. Remember, because both you and I thought it was a bad idea. And I think it was. It was a terrible idea. I'm not so sure this time. I don't know enough about it, but it does seem like the thing that I didn't buy about the last writer's strike, because they were striking for those internet dollars that weren't there yet.
Yeah.
And they are there now. I feel like for So it's different now. So, but I don't know the merits of the strike, but the last one was a disaster.
Yeah, the last strike, I wrote about it some, and I remember we talked about it, and I never understood because I knew just from my ESPN experience that nobody could figure out how to monetize anything online yet.
Right. We knew too. Yeah.
And it was like, you're striking for stuff that they don't have answers for, and don't do this now. Wait until some of the answers come. But I don't know. It just seemed like it was being driven from a certain group, and then things take hold, and all of a sudden people are out there holding picket signs. It was like,
We had friends that went to the vote and they got drunk before. Remember there was some like, I think it was like fun to go. I think it was, people were pissed off about what they saw. It was an inequality, but it was too early.
Time around,
but this time, do you think it's different? Do you think it's different?
I do, because the whole motto is so different. I think the danger of it is when you strike, you give them a chance to reset the infrastructure again. Because last time it was like the greatest thing that ever happened to Hollywood. They completely changed this system that just wasn't beneficial to people that actually were spending the money. They were able to get rid of all these deals, all these development deals. They changed the pilot process and all that stuff. So I wonder this time around, if you give people a chance to reset, how will they reset it this time, and will that be a good thing? I would say it's dangerous.
Yeah, I'd say that the Netflix model of like pay everybody out, no residuals, like that would win.
It seems
like that's winning right now, and I'm not sure. I'm sure that's like got to be the central. I mean, I don't even know what I'm talking about right now. I don't even know what the strike's about, but it does seem like that the business has changed a bunch since the last strike, and mostly about the primacy of television and
shorter series. That's an issue.
Yeah, that's an issue, and
syndication's less important than it was on
what
basic
television.
TV.
What the definition of television is now. I don't Netflix, Amazon, Hulu, all of that stuff. It's just it does feel different.
It does feel like in about 5 years, Netflix, Facebook, and Amazon will just, and Apple, Google,
Hulu. What do you mean?
Maybe Hulu. It'll just be like 7 companies controlling everything.
Yeah, it's Amazon, Facebook, Google, Apple,
Amazon,
Microsoft. That's it.
Amazon could just look around and go, "We're going to get into ticketing," and then there's like,
well, like
all right, Ticketmaster, we're taking this.
2 or 3 years ago, like even 2 or 3 years ago, because we've been wanting to do another movie basically since Book of Mormon. We don't know what the movie is, but when we talk, we're like, maybe it'd be great to do another movie, because I said we kind of started in film.
Yeah.
And 2 or 3 years ago, 4 years ago, or whatever, not relatively recently, the feeling was, remember there was this couple years where like you couldn't get a $20 million movie made. Right. You can make huge franchise. You can get 7 Transformers movies greenlit or at the same time, but you can't get these little movies. And then all of a sudden in the last like 3 years, it feels totally different because of Amazon, because of Netflix. Like people are doing real cool documentaries for them, real cool narrative films that are like $1 million, $2 million, $5 million budgets, right? 10 million, relatively small. And they're like winning all the Oscars, and it's like it's incredible. And I feel like some part of that is just Jeff Bezos could just go, let's spend like $500 million in movies. I don't know, just see. Like, I mean, it's like pocket change to Amazon and completely transforms the film industry from people like our perspective. Like, holy shit, we could go make we could get the money to go do a $5 million movie.
Netflix has kind of started doing that. I mean, they've definitely changed indies. Indies, they just go and they buy, and all of a sudden they spend $100,000 on a movie, and you sell it for $1 million. You don't have to worry about whether people are going to see it. And
it's just like
it's just there.
I feel like the stupid studios just again gave them a whole there's this whole kind of industry there, and it's all of our friends that make movies, all the people we know are like, Netflix will give me money, I'm going to go make something great for them, and they will like let you do it. It's
they just cut a check. Yeah, it seems like this has been happening now for almost 2 years.
Yeah, and it's like
if you're a creative person, you had your dream project, go to Netflix, talk them into it.
Yep.
They'll do it.
I didn't really get it while they were doing it. It looked like a vanity thing, but I was really, really smart of them to do the House of Cards thing and the transparent thing to go and to win awards. You just like actors and directors and producers, like they don't want to go spend a year of their life on something that isn't seen in the same. They want to, and they don't think they need to win an award, but they don't want to not. They want to be respected. It's crazy how well that worked,
Remember the Yankees and the Red Sox in the early 2000s when they had more money than everyone else? And they're like, I need a number one starter. I'm going to get that guy. it does feel like that's where this is going. Like Netflix is like, we should get into stand-up comedies.
Yeah.
And they just go and they get Chappelle and they get Amy Schumer. They just Chris Rock.
The best ones.
It's like here's $100 billion. Oh, now we own stand-up comedies. All right, what's next?
Here's some change laying on the ground. We'll go and just like own that space. And then all of us instantly go, okay, that makes total sense. Great. That's fine.
So basically you're announcing your new Netflix deal.
So yeah.
I mean, go to Netflix.
It's just changing so fast that now I just think that's really interesting that the film industry now seems like all of a sudden kind of to me like interesting again.
Would you rather release a movie in the theater or finish a movie and all of a sudden the next day it's up on Netflix or Amazon or wherever?
I don't really care.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I'd like to be in a theater.
Old school.
No, I get why people are old school about it, or romantic about it, or that. You know, one of the things that I think Netflix did it wrongly at first, but like, I do think as they get into okay, so this is the difference. So this is why it took so long. This isn't just like, the reason is because they wouldn't pay for content before, right? Yeah. And this is what I'm saying is they talked about all the algorithms that they use, and they talked about all that stuff all that user data, how they're going to eat everyone's lunch with that. And so we heard about that for a few years. And then they ended up just going to Sundance, buying movies, you know what I mean? Like everybody else from not algorithms, but from people that know movies. And
how they bought the Sandler thing, I thought was fascinating.
Yeah.
They just looked at it and they looked at what their habits of their viewers were.
Yeah.
And their viewers loved Adam Sandler movies. And Sarandos was just like, we should just give that guy a 4-movie deal and he could just make these movies for us. And that's it.
Is that cool or not? I don't know. Like,
it's one of the reasons we're probably going to have a strike.
I don't know.
Sandler.
Yeah. I mean, I'm happy. I mean, personally, I'm fine with Adam Sandler movies to not be around and to be on Netflix over there. Like, but I don't know. Everybody else can find it there.
Was there like 10% of you guys that were nostalgic / jealous / whatever when Hamilton took off? Because it kind of mirrored when the Book of Mormon took off, and it was really the first kind of phenomenon.
Yeah. What is that? What's with that?
Okay, good. Big 20%.
Yeah. Oh no, it's that feeling of recognition of like, and I've seen it twice. I saw it off Broadway and on Broadway, and it's unbelievably great. It's like deserves every bit of it. There's a little bit of that, the sports analogy, the old quarterback. It's like looking back at the young quarterback. You know, you can't, that is not you, but you recognize they're going through this ride or something that's even more meteoric and more, incredible. But it's like good jealousy. I don't know. You know what I mean?
Because really you're probably one of the only two people that could even understand what that's like when it's like you spent all this time doing something, you throw it out in the world, and then it's like boom.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
everyone's like, can I have tickets? Can I have tickets? Can I have tickets? And that's your life for the next 2 years.
Yeah. And then it just keeps going. Like we were just in Australia for the premiere in Melbourne. And
Book of Mormon.
Book of Mormon. And it's just crazy that like, there we are again, just watching that same show and watching a whole bunch of people. Oh, wow. Oh man, that's so funny. Yeah. It's like, to us, it's like, man, that's 8 years ago, 7 years ago.
How many countries has it been in now?
To just UK and Australia.
And pretty much every state. And
there's been a road tour going around. There's a road tour going around right now. I'm not even sure where it is. No, it's like Trey said, it's totally weird. It's like you do it and then you sort of, it's out there.
It's like sending a kid off to college.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you can't micromanage. And it was something we got told kind of by the Broadway veterans. They said, it's hard because, South Park, you can control every single line and every single thing. You can make it exactly how you want it, at least, the time constraints, and then it's out there. And with Book of Mormon, it's just like, it's going on right now. In New York, it's going to start in half an hour. And just the idea of that. And we probably don't even know anyone in the cast.
No,
you know what I mean? And it's like we haven't worked with them or anything, and like it's just
you show
like,
up, they're shocked you're there. What are you guys doing?
It's kind of how it is. I'm like, hey guys.
Oh my God, I hope it's sort of what we wanted, but it's like it's crazy.
If you guys do anything to fuck with Brady with like movie or musical, I'm gonna be really upset.
Oh, we are. We're doing
we
Tom
have
Brady music.
We have a good Tom Brady joke.
Or Belichick,
we have a good Belichick and Tom Brady joke in our
video. We just wrote a great song called "Liar Liar Pants on Fire." And we have some burning pants.
I'm going to be very upset. Please don't do that. All right. So you're back in
August.
There was no chance of you guys just packing it in?
Probably not this season, but
we'll make it through this season.
I think we'll get it through this one at least.
Could this be the last season?
No, I mean, we have a contract for 3 more years.
Yeah.
So we're going to try to make it that.
When you're not feeling it anymore, that's going to be it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't see you guys doing a season because
But we're never feeling it when we're doing it. It's always sort of afterwards that we're like, oh, I'm glad we did that. Yeah.
Right.
I think that's why you hear us like a little bit like bummed out about season 20. Cause I think usually we're really in it and we hate it. And then we get done and a month later, we're like, that was really cool. I like that. And then season 20, I think we're looking back and going, I think it just feels like it was really, really hard.
Yeah.
And
but you guys say
hard to do. And
you
then
compare it
didn't
to
end up great.
sports, right? And each one's like a season and you look back, like Trump is kind of like a sprained MCL.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or
It's
like
kinda
like a
the
torn
referee
rotator
strike
cuff
or
or something.
something.
Yeah.
Or some lucky team that gets 25 points in a quarter
it's
and a
like-
half and like takes your Super Bowl from you.
Yeah. You lose the coin flip.
Yeah.
All goes wrong.
You get all the way to the Super Bowl and lose, you know.
God. I don't think they recover from that.
No.
Oh,
It's just like, there's no way there's no way that coach at some point doesn't go and, all right, I'm going to watch the tape this one time. And then it's just having a stroke. All the ways it could have gone wrong. All right, Matt and Trey.
cool.
Good
Thank
luck.
you
This
so
was
much.
fun. I'm glad we finally did this.
me
Thank
too.
you.
Cool. Thank you.
Thanks so much to Books. Remember, sending flowers has always been the best way to show someone you care, but it isn't always easy or satisfying. Thankfully, Books.com is a better way to buy flowers with fully transparent pricing, an easy shopping experience, and an incredible selection starting at $40. Show every mom in your life that you care with flowers from the Books Company. It's a special offer. You can order now for my listeners. Get 20% off. Hurry. Flowers will sell out. Don't wait. Visit Books.com, enter code BILL for 20% off your Mother's Day purchase. That is BOUQS.com, code BILL. At checkout, don't forget to subscribe to Against All Odds with Cousin Sal, our new gambling podcast. Cousin Sal is blowing up. Listen to it this week. The BS podcast will be back later in the week. Hopefully I will have a column on theringer.com as well. Thanks again to Matt and Trey. That was great. Talk to you on Friday.